Hey everyone, and welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations. I'm Jared.
And I'm Alicia.
And a very good morning to you.
Good morning. It is genuinely good to be back in the chair today.
We are, I think we can say, firmly settled into season 2 now. We're cruising.
We are. We're in the groove.
But before we get into the heavy lifting of the day, I have to do a little vibe check. How are things holding up in your world?
It's been good, but I had a moment this morning that was, let's just say, humbling. Kind of the opposite energy, actually. A moment of pure, unadulterated human error. I sat down with my coffee, feeling very, high vibe, very ready to conquer the day.
I know that feeling.
I opened my notebook, and then I realized my favorite pen was still on the kitchen counter.
The hero's journey begins.
It ended right there. I mean, the counter is maybe 20 feet away,
Right.
but I stared at that empty page for a solid 90 seconds, genuinely bargaining with the laws of physics to just materialize the pen in my hand so I wouldn't have to stand up.
I love that. The manifestation strategy of the lethargic.
It was. We talk so much about doing the work and spiritual alignment, and sometimes the barrier to entry is literally just gravity and a really comfortable chair.
It's so true. It's a reminder that no matter how much we talk about regulation or, ascension, we are still biological machines that really, really prefer to conserve energy.
Right. If the brain can find a way to not move, it will absolutely choose that path.
Every time.
And honestly, that lethargy, that stuckness, it tracks perfectly with where we need to go today.
It does. It's the perfect segue. Because you think about our last deep dives, episode 104, we spent the whole hour on stabilization.
Right. All about the nervous system.
We talked about nervous system regulation. We unpacked how to stop the scream of anxiety.
Yeah.
The entire goal was to stop the car from spinning out.
Exactly. We established that you cannot build a life on top of a panic attack. So we hit the brakes, we breathed, we got present, we stopped the spiral.
But now,
Yeah.
now we encounter the problem that follows peace.
Okay.
You're sitting there, you're regulated, you aren't panicking anymore, you aren't spiraling,
Yeah.
but you also aren't doing anything.
Yes, precisely. Calmness is not the same thing as direction.
No,
It's stability, but it isn't movement.
it's the now what moment.
It's like sitting in a parked car on the shoulder of the highway. The engine's idling, your heart rate is down, you're safe. You aren't crashing.
Right. You're fine.
But the destination is still 500 miles away, and you haven't put the car in drive yet. You're just existing.
And that is the trap we are going to dismantle today.
Okay.
We call it observer mode.
Observer mode.
And it is a very, very seductive trap, especially for, the kind of people who listen to this. Smart, self-aware people, you get really good at watching your life.
Oh, that's so true. You become the narrator.
You do. You analyze your trauma, you diagnose your plot holes, you scroll through social media observing how other people are living their lives.
You're the main character, but you're sitting in the audience eating popcorn.
That's the perfect image for it.
You're the most well-informed passenger in history. You know exactly why the car isn't moving. You know the history of the engine. You know the psychology of the driver.
But you're not steering.
But you are not steering, no.
And today is all about the shift from observer to operator.
I like that.
We're going to break down the actual mechanics of sliding over into the driver's seat. And I want to be really clear right up front.
Yeah.
Because I know how our culture operates. This is not about hustle culture.
Right. We're not trying to re-trigger the nervous system we just spent an entire hour calming down.
No.
We don't want to go from park to panic.
Exactly. This is about the quiet, heavy click of the seatbelt. It's about the decision to put your hands on the wheel and actually engage with reality.
So it's about agency.
It's about agency, not force.
From observer to operator. I love that language. And, to really get into this, I think we need to look at what this shift actually looks like when the stakes are really, really high.
Okay.
Because it's easy to be an observer when things are fine. It's much, much harder when things are literally falling apart. And there is one historical event that just perfectly encapsulates this shift. We're going back to April 1970.
Apollo 13.
The successful failure. Now, most people, they know the movie line, Houston, we've had a problem. But let's really place ourselves in that moment. They are 2 days into a mission to the moon. They are 200,000 miles from Earth. They are literally closer to the moon than they are to their own families.
Just pause on that. In 1 second, the entire ontology of their lives shifted.
Completely.
They went from explorers on a path to glory to men in a tin can fighting for air. The timeline didn't just shift by a few hours. The entire purpose of their existence shifted.
It's a total collapse of their previous reality. The telemetry is going haywire. Oxygen is venting into space, which they can physically see out the window as this gas cloud.
Terrifying.
Power is failing because the fuel cells need that oxygen to work. And the carbon dioxide levels inside the lunar module are rising, which essentially means they are slowly being poisoned by their own breath.
It's a catastrophe, in the truest sense of the word.
It is. And here is the pivot point for our discussion today. This is where the difference between observer and operator happens. In that exact moment, the crew in space level, Swigert, Hayes, and the ground control in Houston, led by Gene Kranz, they had a choice of identity. They could have so easily slipped into victim mode.
Which is a very logical place to go when your spaceship explodes.
Oh, absolutely. Victim mode would sound like, this is so unfair. Why did the tank explode? Who built this thing? We were going to die.
Right. It's a collapse into the tragedy.
Or they could have slipped into observer mode, which is basically the freeze response.
Okay.
They could have spent the next 4 days just discussing how unfair this was. They could have analyzed the explosion. They could have narrated the disaster. Oh, look, the oxygen is dropping. This is tragic. We are definitely going to die.
And if they had done that, if they had stayed in analysis or narration, they would have died.
Without a doubt.
The physics of this situation didn't care about their narrative. The CO2 didn't care if they felt it was unfair.
Correct. But they didn't do that. First, they regulated. You see that discipline we talked about last time. But then they shifted. NASA moved from being observers of a crisis to operators of a solution.
There's that famous phrase associated with the mission, right? Failure is not an option.
It is. And in pop culture, that sounds like Hollywood bravado.
It does, like this macho, chest-thumping slogan.
Exactly. But when you look at how Gene Kranz and that team actually worked, it wasn't bravado at all. It was an orientation.
It was a boundary.
It was a boundary. That's a great way to put it. It was a constraint they placed on their own minds. It meant we are not going to spend 1 ounce of energy contemplating the end.
Wow.
We're going to spend all of our energy on the next step. And this brings us to a really crucial definition of agency, because I think people confuse agency with control.
They do,
Yeah.
all the time. And they are very, very different things.
Agency is not control over your circumstances. The astronauts could not control the explosion.
No.
They couldn't control the freezing cold in the capsule. They couldn't control the laws of physics or the distance to Earth. If you think agency means controlling the road, you will feel helpless immediately.
Because the road is uncontrollable.
Right. Agency is simply responsibility for the response.
It's granular. It wasn't one big hero moment where they fixed the ship. It was thousands of tiny, unglamorous decisions. One calculation, one adaptation. How do we filter the CO2 using only duct tape and a sock?
That mailbox filter they built, it's the ultimate symbol of the operator, isn't it?
It really is.
You know the story, the command module had square filters, the lunar module had round holes. They didn't fit. It's a design flaw.
Right. The observer looks at that and says, well, the design is flawed. This is impossible. Someone made a mistake here. The operator says, okay, physics is physics. I have cardboard, I have a plastic bag, I have a hose. How do I make them fit?
Exactly. They moved from this is happening to us to what is our next move?
They didn't argue with reality. The tank had exploded. That was the new baseline. The operator accepts the wreckage instantly and asks, okay, what can I build with this?
It's a radical acceptance followed by radical action. But, you know, as inspiring as Apollo 13 is, I know there's a risk here.
People listen to that and they think, well, great. If I'm ever in an exploding spaceship, I'll remember to be an operator.
Right.
But my life is an exploding spaceship. My life is just, laundry and emails and feeling stuck.
It's hard to relate to survival mode when your problem is just procrastination or that general malaise you mentioned.
Right. The adrenaline isn't there to force the shift.
Exactly. So I want to bring this right down to the ground. Let's talk about a personal story from your life that is the exact opposite of Apollo 13.
Okay.
It is low stakes, it is mundane, and it is entirely unglamorous. I want to talk about your closet renovation.
Oh, God. The closet of doom. I'm almost ashamed to share this, but it's so relevant.
So paint the picture for us.
So for years, and I mean literally 3 years, I treated my master closet like a discussion topic. It was this wire shelf nightmare. You know the kind.
Oh, I know the kind. The ones where if you put a sweater on it, it gets those little indentations in the fabric.
Yes. The wire bites into the
Oh,
cloth.
wire bites, yeah.
And Things fall through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Stacks of jeans would just tip over sideways if you breathed on them wrong.
Yeah.
It was a daily low-grade irritation.
Okay.
Every single morning I would go in there, struggle to find something, sigh, and think, one day I'm going to rip all of this out. I will have real shelf.
One day, the anthem of the observer.
It is. Precisely. I had the vision. I could see it so clearly. I wanted drawers that glided.
Yeah.
I wanted a shoe rack where shoes didn't tumble onto each other. It wasn't a lack of vision.
No.
I had Pinterest boards. I had saved hundreds of photos of perfect closets. I would brush my teeth and mentally redesign the whole space.
I know this move.
And I would complain about it to friends over wine. Ugh, my closet's such a mess. I really need to fix it.
You were narrating the project. You were analyzing the problem.
I was narrating the project. I was analyzing the dysfunction. I was observing the mess. But I wasn't doing a single thing.
Right.
I wasn't pricing lumber. I wasn't saving any money for it. I wasn't even measuring the walls. I was just watching myself be annoyed.
And I think this is where so many of us live. We think that worrying about a problem is the same thing as working on a problem.
Yes.
We think because we're stressed about the closet, we're somehow dealing with the closet.
Stress is not a strategy. That should be on a t-shirt.
It should. So what changed? Because I know you actually did this renovation recently. The closet looks great now.
The shift happened when I realized I was treating the closet like a fantasy instead of a project.
Okay.
I was waiting for the perfect time or the perfect budget or the perfect plan to just fall out of the sky. And finally, I just got tired of my own voice narrating the problem.
Yeah.
So I did one thing.
What was it?
I opened a separate savings account, just a sub-account at my bank. And I set up an automatic transfer of $100 a month.
That's it. $100.
That's it. Now, mathematically, that wasn't going to buy the closet anytime soon. It wasn't dramatic.
Yeah.
But energetically, it was an initiation.
It was a signal.
It was a signal to my brain that we were no longer thinking about the closet. We were funding the closet.
You moved from fantasy to finance.
Exactly. And then, the next day, I went to the hardware store. And this is the key part. I didn't go to buy anything.
Just to look?
Just to walk the aisles. I looked at the closet systems. I checked the price of wood. I touched the brackets. I was just gathering data.
But you had crossed a physical threshold. You weren't on Pinterest anymore. You were in the aisle.
I was in the aisle.
Yeah.
And here is the core insight for me from that whole experience. The closet hadn't physically changed yet. It was still a mess.
Yeah.
But I had changed.
How so?
I was no longer the person standing in the doorway wishing it was different. I was the person pricing the solution.
Wow.
I had stepped inside the project. That was the shift from observer to operator. It wasn't about the renovation being finished. It was about the shift from thinking about it to pricing it.
That is such a crucial distinction. We often think the shift happens when the result is achieved. I'll be an operator when the closet is done.
Okay.
Right. No. You became an operator when you set up the auto transfer?
Yes. The identity shift precedes the physical shift.
Yes.
Always.
Okay, I want to zoom out and look at the progression here.
Yeah.
Because what you're describing and what happened on Apollo 13, it follows a very specific developmental arc of identity.
It does?
We've been tracking this all season, but let's just name the 3 stages explicitly.
Let's do it. This is the map.
The first stage, and this is where most of us start, especially if we have any trauma or insecurity, it's the performance identity.
Okay.
This identity is entirely focused on external validation. The core questions are always, how do I look? Am I doing this right? Do they like me?
It's exhausting. The energy is reactive. You're constantly scanning the room or, the internet to see if you are acceptable. You're performing good person or spiritual person or successful person, but there's no center to it. There is only a mirror.
Right. Then usually through things like therapy or the regulation work we've talked about, we move to the second stage, observer identity. This is where we detach a bit. We stop frantically performing. We start analyzing. The core questions become, what does this mean? Why is this happening? Let me step back and look at the pattern.
And this is a necessary stage. We don't want to skip it. You have to be able to observe your patterns to understand them.
Of course.
You have to know why you have the wire shelves before you can rip them out. But the trap is getting stuck there.
Right.
It's calm, but it's passive.
Yeah.
It's the frozen state of regulation. You aren't spiraling anymore, but you also aren't moving. You become a scholar of your own suffering.
A scholar of your own suffering.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. And that leads to the third stage, operator identity.
Yes.
This is where the shift happens. The focus moves from analysis to initiation. The core questions become, what is my next move? What do I choose? What is the outcome I am steering toward?
The energy here is just totally different. It's not frantic like performance. It's not passive like observer. It is intentional.
It's engaged. It's steady. And notice the difference in the locus of control. In performance, the control is with the audience, do they like me?
Right.
In observer, the control is with the past, why did this happen to me? In operator, the control is with the self, right now, what do I do?
That connects so perfectly to our Season 2 arc. Presence, which we talked about last time, leads to agency, which is the operator, and eventually that leads to power, which is ethical influence. But you cannot wield power if you are stuck in observation.
You have to get in the driver's seat. And what's so fascinating is that this isn't just a mindset thing. There's hard science behind why this shift matters for your brain and your body.
Okay, so let's get into the neuroscience.
Yeah.
This bridges directly into the concept of perceived agency.
Right. So your brain is constantly assessing for threat. That's its primary job. When the brain feels it has no control over a stressor, the stress response, cortisol, adrenaline, it just skyrockets.
Fight or flight. Exactly. But studies show that when the brain perceives even a tiny amount of agency, the ability to affect the outcome, the stress response drops immediately.
This goes back to the work of Martin Seligman and learned helplessness, right?
Yes, Seligman's work was groundbreaking. He found that when subjects, whether animals or humans, felt that their actions had no effect on the outcome,
So he just gave up.
they eventually just stopped trying. They became passive. They would endure discomfort even when they could escape it because they had learned that they were helpless.
That is the physiological basis of the observer trap.
It is.
If you spend years feeling like things are just happening to you, your brain literally stops looking for the exit. You endure the wire shelves because your neural pathways are set to endure, not act.
But the flip side of that is what we could call learned capability, or what some neuroscientists are now calling the agency loop.
Okay, how does that loop work?
When you take a small action like setting up that $100 transfer, your brain records it. So, oh wait, I acted and something shifted.
Cause and effect.
I moved and the reality changed. That is a vote for a new identity. It references that James Clear atomic habits logic. Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become.
So by taking action, you are actually rewiring the brain's self-concept. You are physically moving from I am a passive observer of my life to I am a capable actor in my life.
Yes, the feedback loop is essential. I act and things shift.
Yeah.
Over time, that builds internal trust. And if we look at this through a more spiritual lens, this is the archetype of the magus.
I love the Magus archetype. It's card number 1 in the tarot, right? The magician.
It is. And notice his posture in the classic decks. One hand points to the sky, one hand points to the earth.
As above, so below.
Exactly. The magus is the channel. He pulls intention from the realm of ideas, the above, and grounds it into reality, the below, through disciplined action.
There's a common misconception about the Magus, though. I think people sometimes see it as being about force, like, I will force the universe to bend to my will.
That's the shadow magus. That is the sorcerer. The sorcerer tries to break the rules of reality to get what he wants. The true magus understands the laws of reality, the constraints, the materials, the situation,
The physics of it all.
the physics of it all,
Yep.
and then acts with them to create new form.
Gene Kranz and the Apollo team were the ultimate magi.
Yes.
They didn't try to force the oxygen tank to unexplode. They accepted the constraints, gravity, limited power, the cold, and used their will to navigate through them.
Exactly. Agency is that sweet spot where the nervous system is calm enough, regulated enough to channel that intention.
Whoa.
If you're panicked, like in performance identity, you're too chaotic. If you're frozen, like the observer, the channel is blocked. The operator is the open channel.
Okay, so we have the theory, we have the history, we have the personal example. But as we always say on this deep dive, if we don't apply it, it's just entertainment.
It is.
So let's get into the tools. How do we actually train this operator identity? Because it really sounds like a muscle to me.
It is absolutely a muscle. You don't just decide to be an operator once and you're done. You have to practice it over and over. So we are going to do a micro training right now.
I love this. Let's do it in real time.
Okay. So I want you, the listener, to think of one area of your life right now that feels just mildly stuck. Don't pick your biggest trauma. Don't pick a massive life crisis. Just something annoying.
Low stakes.
Low stakes.
Yeah.
A lingering email you haven't sent, a project like my closet that has started, a conversation you're avoiding. Just pick one thing.
Okay. I've got mine. It's a stack of paperwork on the corner of my desk that I've been staring at for 3 weeks. It's tax stuff, insurance stuff. It's physically painful to look at.
Perfect. That is a classic observer trap. You are watching the pile, you are narrating the pile, I hate taxes, but you are not moving the pile.
Not at all.
Now, we run this through what we call the operator check-in. It's 3 specific questions designed to snap you out of observation and into operation.
Okay. Question 1.
Question 1, what is actually happening? The instruction here is to strip away the story. Strip away the drama. Strip away the I'm so lazy or this is so unfair. Just state the plain facts.
So for me, instead of I'm avoiding this terrible bureaucratic nightmare because I'm a procrastinator, it's just there are papers on my desk. They are not filed.
Yes. Do you feel the temperature drop in that stage?
Immediately. It's boring.
Boring is good. Boring is actionable. There are papers on the desk. It's neutral. It's just physics. When you remove the narrative, you stop fighting the story and you can just see the object for what it is.
Okay.
Now, question 2. What is in my control? And here's the constraint. Focus specifically on the next 24 hours, not how do I fix my entire filing system forever, just what can you do today?
Okay. I can't finish it all today because I need to find a specific document that is lost somewhere in the digital abyss of my computer.
Right.
But I can sort the physical pile into 2 categories, keep and shred. I can do that in 10 minutes.
Boom. That is specific. It is actionable. It is immediate. Operators don't look at the whole staircase. They look at the step that is right in front of their toe.
I like that.
Now, question 3. What is my next aligned move? I use the word aligned very carefully. It doesn't mean the biggest move. It means the move that feels like forward motion without creating overwhelm. Somatically, ask your body, what move can I make that makes me feel like I'm driving?
For me, it's just putting the shred pile into the shredder. The actual noise of the shredder feels like progress to me. It feels like deletion. That feels aligned.
There it is. In 30 seconds, you went from, I am a victim of this paperwork, to, I am the operator of the shredder. That is the shift.
It seems so simple, but we skip these steps all the time. We stay in the story phase. I'm so bad at paperwork, and we never get to the what is in my control phase.
Exactly. We over-narrate and we under-operate.
Now, there is a specific mental trap that happens right when people try to do this. We call this debug mode. We need to clear the static. Because the moment you decide to be an operator, your brain, which loves safety, is going to throw up an error message.
Oh yes, the error message. It usually sounds something like this. I just need a little more clarity before I act.
I need to be sure.
I need to feel confident.
I need to know it's the right decision before I start.
It sounds so responsible, doesn't it? I'm just doing my due diligence. But usually, that is a lie. That is the static. We believe the belief. Clarity must precede movement. But the operator truth, and this is probably the most important thing I will say today, is this. Clarity emerges from movement.
Say that again?
Clarity emerges from movement.
Yeah.
Think about it. How often have you figured out what you actually wanted only after you started doing something?
All the time.
You don't know if you like the paint color until a sample is on the wall. You don't know if the paragraph works until you actually write it.
It's the hardware store visit. You didn't know what kind of shelves you wanted until you stood in the aisle and looked at them. If you had stayed home just thinking about it, you would have stayed confused.
Exactly. Waiting for clarity is actually just a sophisticated form of perfectionism. And perfectionism is just fear in a tuxedo.
Wow.
It's fear of being wrong, fear of wasting effort. So the fix for this is what I call the information generating move.
I love this concept. You shift the goal.
Yes. Shift the goal from outcome to discovery. Ask yourself, what is the smallest move I can make that would generate new information?
So, for the closet.
Calling a contractor for a quote doesn't mean you have to hire them. It just gives you data on price.
Right.
Writing a draft of that difficult email doesn't mean you have to send it. It just gives you data on your own ideas.
That relieves so much pressure. You aren't deciding the rest of your life. You are just generating information.
And that feeling of waiting to be sure feels like contraction in the body. It feels tight in the chest. But moving to discover feels like opening. It feels like curiosity.
Okay, I want to take a moment to really let this land for everyone listening. We're going to move into some reflection prompts. We always like to move from the head to the handwriting things down, or just articulating them helps to integrate the insight. So wherever you are, if you can grab a journal, great. If not, just pause and answer these internally.
Let's take a breath first.
Yeah.
Just ground yourself. And let's look at the truth. Prompt number 1. Where in my life am I still narrating instead of initiating?
Okay.
Be really honest with yourself. Where are you acting like a commentator on your own life? Is it your health? Oh, my back always hurts. Is it your finances? I never have enough savings. Where are you just describing the problem over and over and over again?
That's a powerful one. It hurts a little bit, but in a good way. Okay, comp number 2. What situation am I treating like a spectator sport?
Ooh, I like that one.
This is about that passive monitoring. Watching workplace dynamics and complaining to your spouse, but never actually speaking up in the meeting. Scrolling Zillow for houses, but never calling a realtor. Where are you in the bleachers of your own life?
Okay, prompt number 3. What is one area where I can move from reaction to response? Reaction is automatic. It's the knee-jerk. Response is chosen. Think of a place where you keep reacting, maybe getting defensive with your partner, and ask yourself, how can I respond as an operator instead?
And finally, prompt number 4. What does being an operator feel like in my body? This is the somatic piece. When you imagine yourself in charge, steering the ship, how do you sit? How do you breathe? What's the physical sensation?
For me, operator energy feels grounded. My feet feel heavy on the floor. My spine is straight but not stiff. And my voice actually drops a little. It's not frantic, it's quiet.
Quietly decisive. I like that. So I want you to circle one answer from those prompts, just one area to focus on this week. Don't try to fix your whole life. Just pick one lane.
And to really lock this in, we're going to do a guided visualization. Because sometimes words aren't enough. We need to feel the metaphor in the nervous system.
Let's do it. Take the wheel.
Okay. So, if it's safe for you to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. If you're driving, obviously keep them open, but you can still play along with the feeling.
Please.
Settle into your seat. Lengthen your spine. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. I want you to imagine you are sitting in the driver's seat of a car. It's a comfortable seat. You feel held by it. Put your hands lightly on the steering wheel. Feel the texture of the wheel under your palms. Maybe it's cool leather. Maybe it's warm. Hear the quiet hum of the engine. Oh, it's not racing. It's just ready. It's idling. Look out the windshield. You see the road stretching ahead of you. But notice, the horizon fades. It's a bit misty. You cannot see the destination. You cannot see every pothole or every curve 5 miles down the road. And I want you to feel that that is okay. You are not responsible for the road. You did not build the road. You do not control the weather. You do not control the other cars. You only control the wheel.
Just the wheel.
Now, visualize yourself pressing the accelerator. Just lightly. The car moves forward. Steady. No rush. No adrenaline. Just motion. Imagine a curve coming up in the road. Notice that you don't panic. You don't freeze. You just turn the wheel. Your hands know what to do. You adjust. You didn't need to know the curve was there yesterday. You handle it now, in the moment. Now bring that stuck situation we talked about earlier onto the road. Imagine that situation is just a piece of the terrain. Say internally to yourself, I steer. Feel the shift from watching the road to driving the car. I steer. Stay with that feeling of quiet authority for just a moment. And when you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room.
I steer. That is powerful. There is such a relief in that visualization. I think so often we think agency means I have to pave the road.
Yes, we think we have to build the highway, control the weather, and ensure there's no traffic.
Yeah.
That is not the job. The job is just to drive the car.
You don't control the road, you control the wheel. That is the soundbite for today. That is the mantra.
It really is. It takes all the pressure off. You don't have to dominate life. You just have to direct your response to it.
So let's bring this home. We've covered a lot of ground today. We started with that feeling of being regulated but stuck sitting in the passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at Apollo 13 and saw how they moved from Houston, we have a problem, to what is the next move? They didn't fix the explosion. They navigated the return.
We looked at the closet renovation. We saw how the shift wasn't the finished shelves. It was the $100 transfer and the hardware store visit. It was the move from narrating to initiating.
We broke down the 3 identities. Performance, am I doing right? Observer, why is this happening? And operator, what do I choose?
And we look at the science of agency, how taking small actions actually calms the brain and builds a new identity through that feedback loop.
We practice the operator check-in. What is happening? What is in my control? What is my aligned move? And we debug that really sneaky belief that you need clarity first.
We learned that clarity follows movement. It doesn't come before it.
So the challenge for this week, the action step, is very, very simple.
It is. I want you to take that one lane you identified earlier, that one stuck area, and I want you to take one small, measurable action.
One thing.
Send a text. Open the savings account. Buy the paint sample, just one thing. And crucially, complete it. And then acknowledge it. Actually say to yourself, I moved and things shifted.
That acknowledgement is key, isn't it? You have to high-five your own brain so it registers the win.
Exactly. That's how you build the muscle. You stack the small wins until you trust yourself to handle the bigger curves in the road.
I have to say, I love this deep dive because it feels so empowering without being overwhelming. It's not go conquer the world, it's turn the wheel 2 degrees to the right.
That's it. And honestly, that is the only way sustainable change ever happens. We burn out on conquer the world. We can live on turn the wheel.
It's the unglamorous spaces, the closets, the emails, the piles of paperwork. That's the real training ground.
That is where the Magus lives. Not on the mountaintop, but in the inbox.
And this sets us up perfectly for next time. Because once you are regulated from episode 104, and once you have agency in your steering, from today, you start to gain momentum. You start to have an impact. And that leads directly to the question of power.
That is the big one. How do we wield influence ethically? Once we are driving the car, how do we make sure we aren't running other people over?
Yeah.
How do we lead from a place of integrity?
That is the progression. Presence to agency to ethical power.
It is.
I can't wait for that one. But for now, let's just practice steering. Thank you for walking us through this.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to share this space.
And to you listening, you don't have to see the whole map. You just have to drive the next mile. Until next time.
Keep your hands on the wheel.